everyone, and welcome to the Alien Vista edition of the MetroidConstruction podcast. I'm Vismund, and I'm joined by Crash Tour.
Hello.
TheDopeFish.
Hi.
And MetroidMst.
Hello.
All of whom were supposed to be judges for the contest. But I guess we'll get into that whenever
right now.
Whenever we decide to talk about that. Okay, so first off, we're trying something a bit different today. So you guys are going to be watching the only entry for the contest, which was SM Contention by SmileUser96. We're watching it at the same time. I don't know how many of these guys have played through all of it. I know Crashed hasn't, so he's going to be in for a treat.
Indeed.
It wasn't that bad.
A very special treat.
It is a special treat. There's a nice surprise at the end. You'll enjoy
it's a smiley hack, so yeah, there's bound to be
some really cool stuff. So anyway, Alien Vista podcast was supposed to be held from, what was it, the 15th of May until the 31st of August. The rules for the contest...
That sounds right.
The rules for the contest were basically just the hack had to be beatable. It had to have a glow if it was a Super Metroid contest, which would have been using Flex Glow. I don't know if there's any other way to do it, apart from the built-in FX1 glows. I don't know. Anyway, the point is, that was basically the only requirement, that it had to use a glow. Apparently that was too much for most people, because Smiley was the only one to do anything. Now, just on the actual game for a minute. So, SM Contention
welcome to Smiley's mind.
It was actually pretty fun. Like, I mean, it has some problems, which we'll get into when they come up. It was a fun hack. His use of...
I love the sanity meter at the top.
The sanity meter, that was an interesting addition. It made the
names for all the items
not really look like they were doing much. What the fuck am I doing?
God only knows.
Okay, this is all pre-recorded, I should mention, because there's an issue with the boss at the end where sometimes he crashes, which is obviously very helpful when you're trying to play through it. Another cool thing he did there was the save points restore your health. Well, the save point. I think there's only one?
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah, correct me if I'm wrong, but look at me, trying to sequence break like an idiot. I can't do wall jumps.
Apparently.
It's okay. I think I get there in the end.
So
the question is how long until the end?
Hey, there we go.
See, I did it. I'm a champion. Now, I had played through this before, so I kind of knew what to expect, but I'm not good. I'm not a good player.
So, no, one of the big things about the Alien Vista contest was kind of one of my ideas I'd floated in my head, which I thought more people might be interested in, but I wanted people to experiment and try weird things just to see what works. There's weird stuff that happens later. That's very interesting.
We'll get to that. It's quite a thing.
Smiley is very good at weird.
Yes.
He does weird well, which doesn't sound like it's that big of a deal. Here we go. Are you ready?
What in the world?
Yeah.
This is the custom glow portion of the hack.
Yes.
Plus he added polka, so that's a bonus.
Always polka.
Polka is amazing. I shouldn't have gone this way. I forgot what I was doing. So yeah.
Wow.
Really?
Instant insanity.
Yeah, basically. I wish he'd changed the death thing, but
Game over screen.
Yeah, that would have been nice because just for the story elements. Is there a story? There was at the start.
There is a story. Yeah. It's quite an amazing story.
It is indeed quite the story. I'm sure you read
For
it while
anybody
we were
who
talking.
did not like the animals being saved at both GDQs this year, you should probably play this.
More custom music in this area? I don't know. Is this from something, or is it just...
Yes, it's... I forget what it's from, but it is from something.
I didn't recognize it.
I had to ask him, and he told me, and I forgot.
I suspected it was from something, but I wasn't entirely sure.
The music or the tile set?
The music. The tile set, I have no idea what the fuck's going on there.
It's sort of bubbly, so it's cool.
Also glows.
Yes.
Which is
because
always good
as it
in a
turns
contest
out,
about glows.
FlexGlow can do anything.
FlexGlow is one hell of a tool.
Yes, it is.
It is quite amazing.
I don't know. I use it for lots of things. You don't just have to use it for glows. There is all sorts of stuff you can do with it. And I'd recommend anyone who wants to make a decent hack should try and experiment with it and see if they can't do anything to make their stuff look better. Because you probably can. Anyway.
Like a circus polka area.
Yes, exactly. You can do stupid things like that.
Because why not?
Anyway.
So
SM Contention, the only thing. Hang on, what were you saying?
I was going to say, I was actually sort of disappointed in the alien-y, Vista-y stuff of it.
Yeah, I was about to get to that. It's not... I mean, this tile set is cool, but it's not what I would think when I hear Alien Vista, which, admittedly, like, it's a very vague concept, but you'd think like an alien planet, something completely foreign. This is very foreign, obviously, but it doesn't look like...
It still
it's not a
looks
Vista.
And feels like Metroid-y stuff.
It looks like a cave. A very weird cave, but a cave. Now, I would talk about what I was working on, but that didn't finish. Sorry.
Yes, recently there was a very clear winner.
Yeah, Vismund is one of the many people that started a hack for this contest and then either
bit off way more than I could chew.
Either had too lofty of expectations or got lazy and stopped before they finished it.
So before anyone spoils what this is, I want Crash to take a guess as to what this boss is supposed to be.
Well, it's obviously a wrecked ship ghost, but it's
got
one hell of a respray.
I actually have no idea what...
I'm not sure what it's resprited to look like.
These are floaty rainbow tits.
Floaty rainbow tits.
Yes. They are.
Yes.
I see it now. Oh, man.
I guess I can see that now that you say that.
That is,
I mean, it's sort of an alien concept.
Quite the thing.
Because why not? I mean...
Oh god. What I wasn't thinking about it when I was playing it. I was just like, oh shit, kill the boss. And now that I look at it, oh god.
Can't unsee.
Yep. So there you go.
Welcome to Smiley Vision.
Here we go. Boss number 1 down. There's 3 bosses in total. Unless I missed something.
No, I think there's 3.
This door, you get stuck in the floor.
I noticed that. I don't know why he didn't fix that. Just move the door 1 tile lower?
Just that there. That was good game design. That was some really clever hinting by putting the cargo in the room with it.
I did like that part. I even commented on that when I came across it because that's smart.
It's something.
Here's a new item. And here's something you can use it on.
Yeah.
It's something that I think a lot of hacks miss, is they give you an item, but they expect that you'll just know what to do with it. Where,
It's like, yep,
because, you
they'll
know,
know.
it did that in the original game, it probably does the same thing, except for when it doesn't.
Oh my goodness.
But I don't know what I'm doing here. Don't ask. I think you can actually fall through the top of that door because of how he's positioned the slopes. And after all that, bomb block. So yeah, there's another item in this that's very cleverly hidden, which I
There's-
accidentally worked out. There's one in
There's
particular.
quite a few items in this.
I think I end up.
He hit a lot of stuff.
Yeah, I think I end up with 88%, which I missed a couple of missile tanks and maybe an energy or two. I don't know how many
Yeah,
items
he hit
there
a
were in
surprising
total,
amount of items on this for,
but how small it was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's, like,
which
not
is
a,
good. Items are fun.
Not a huge hack.
As you will find out, every item is pretty much within 2 rooms of the save.
Which is very good because there is some unfair, silly things that are specifically there to ruin your day. But it never feels unfair because the save point is right there. So, like, usually...
It's your own fault for not saving.
Yeah, that's it. Like, if you screw up, it's your
What
own
was
fault.
the name of that?
Semper
Semper
Saltus.
Saltus? That's what the Latin used on their French fries.
Why?
Okay.
Basically, once you get space jump, this hack becomes unlosable. Because you have charge beam, you have space jump. You pseudo screw attack everything.
I would like to point out, when I played this, I got space jump before charge beam. Because I just cargoed through the cargo and opened the gate while inside the cargo.
I didn't think about that.
Nice.
That was
I
there
think
you go.
Smiley was a little upset when he saw me do that.
Yeah.
So that's a thing you can do.
I mean, for a player who doesn't do that, sure, his thing works fine, but I thought it was kind of obvious, like, oh, hey, I can do this.
And that comes into play later. But, you know, we'll talk about that when it happens. So we've got the Furor Emitter. I assume that's something about, I don't know, angrily
Furious
emitting
explosions.
something.
Oh my goodness, that sounds
Angry
terrible.
explosion. So there we go. Sanity restored. Now I think I go back and mop up some items. Now that we have bombs. Because having played through the hack up to the final boss. Now I hadn't beaten the final boss before. I didn't know what happened because it crashed every time. So I was in for quite the surprise at the end. Which
It's a thing.
it certainly is a thing.
It's a Smiley ending, and Smiley has the best endings to hacks.
It's true. Best stories,
It-
best endings.
It unfortunately puts our Tut to shame.
It does. I was so proud about that, but
That's pretty hard to believe.
you'll just wait, Crash.
It's pretty good.
So here we have the Fluxatine.
It's
I don't know.
some
annoying
drug
thing
of some kind.
About that item placement for a second. I almost died there because you still get hit by enemies when you're picking up the suits when it's playing that animation.
You were
So that was
supposed to
kind of a
destroy
pain
the
in the dick.
enemies.
It was a bit my own fault, but at the same
Play
time,
better.
it's questionable item placement. There's something to keep in mind if you're ever, you know,
Something
making a
like
hack.
that. You could possibly remove the suit thingy.
Or
Animation.
alternatively, just not have enemies in the room with it.
Also, relevant to Crash's earlier comment, fluoxetine is the generic name of Prozac.
Okay. Well,
that is awesome.
so
So, yeah, it's this
The
hack is
Prozac
very
suit.
drug based because
Basically,
aliens apparently are all drugs.
Well, the suits are at least.
This is every day for Smiley. It's what most people would call a bad trip. He calls it Tuesday. Got some
I would
side
like to
hoppers
know,
here.
what are you doing?
I can see the item up there, and I'm trying to work out how
Right.
to get to it because it looks like it's meant to be bomb blocks, but it turns out it's just me being an idiot.
Like, I
'Cause
I
I
don't
thought it
understand
was-
what the bomb block's coming into this for.
I thought that maybe there was speed boost in this hack, and I was gonna try and be sneaky and like, I don't know, bomb the blocks instead of. Oh no, I knew that there was screw attack. I thought they might have been screw attack blocks. So I was like, hey, I'm gonna fuck his shit up. I wonder what could be up here. It was just ice beam. Kind of disappointing.
Kind of disappointing.
I was hoping it would be
Especially if
something
you're happy.
ridiculously overpowered. So yeah, sanity restored once again. That's useful.
Only for a
This-
brief moment.
This area looks cool, but it doesn't really fit the Vista theme. Obviously,
Again, it's interesting and different, but
Yeah.
it's not.
this item
Alien.
here, I figured that out accidentally. I didn't actually mean to do that in the first place. So that's kind of cool. It's an interesting way to hide an item like that in a small hack.
And why did you just
What?
you cocked it through them?
Well, you know, I couldn't figure out a different way to go through it, so I just did it the cheat way.
Okay, so
Because why not?
What are you actually supposed
well,
to do
I-
there? I thought you were meant to cargo through it.
nope. You literally just shoot it with ice
I
beam
didn't
and it
think
dies.
that there was anything in that room. I ran away.
See you
Run
later.
away!
I was-
Run away! Run away.
I thought, okay, so maybe this is where you go after you beat the other boss. Having played, hello, dope dog. Having played Smiley's other hacks, I thought, okay, that's where the ending thing is gonna be. I was wrong. There's just a boss. So I was on my way out, and suddenly the music changes and Bumtorino falls from the sky, and I jumped. I
Yes.
was like, what the fuck?
That thing scared me too.
Job well done.
So we are rewarded with, I don't know what that was.
Alaprazam or whatever.
Alprozam. Is that another
That's Xanax.
Ah, okay. Here's me not being able to get a missile. Here's a funny looking block where actually just because
It's because of transparency.
It's,
yeah. I wasn't sure, but then I worked it out and I was like, that makes sense.
I am glad he used transparencies.
I am too.
He-
Like, it's a cool effect that I don't think a lot of people use well.
People are
Well,
afraid of transparency.
People don't know how to use it, but once you just got to experiment with it. And that was the idea for the contest, was experiment with stupid stuff, see if you can make it look half decent.
People like to layer things. With
Yes.
layering, you can't really do transparency very well.
No, that's my
It
problem.
just looks weird.
I don't generally use the
With transparency, you can make very basic formations and have it look different. There's a unique visual style to it, especially with certain newer tiles.
Yeah, exactly. So here we are in the best area again. Something I noticed
The best
is that
area.
Samus flips over the tiles, which looks a bit, strange
Weird.
when you're standing on a slope and your foot is through the slope. That's probably something that you just generally shouldn't do, unless you're aiming for something specific, like say you want tiles to look like water. Definitely have them behind Samus.
So
yeah.
yes,
This is quite the area.
this is
Seeing that.
this is a place that needed expanded.
This is
This-
pure Smiley right here. You're seeing inside his psyche.
I can only
Oh,
imagine.
That's a
is his-
secret thing. I never found that.
Ah, did you not say that? The tiles
What
glow
does that
differently.
say?
That was the hint.
Background.
I have no idea. I didn't try to read it. Yeah, the tiles that glow red, they're all destructible, I think. So there was
You
a lot of hidden
completely
stuff
missed some
in
other
this
things,
area.
but yeah, you found some stuff.
I know that this is where I missed, I think, all of the items that I missed.
Okay, so up top, he has some words in the background that say "I like tits." I at least figured that out. Because why not?
Because smiley. Oh dear. It's quite the thing that he has made here.
It really is.
I did
Just
check.
in
This
awe.
is
more.
the power of Flex Glow, people.
Yes, this is all done just using Flex Glow, which is what's cool
Impressive
about Flex Glow.
ever.
Yes. There's an accidental missile.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah, I went up here to save because this is where I split the SMV. It was
Yes. Because there's really not much left.
no, there's not too much left. There's a boss. I've missed a few items. I don't know what I was doing there, chasing the waiver.
Having trouble finding the save point.
Chasing the dragon.
Xanax was starting to wear off.
Hey look, I accidentally found a hidden spot. I think I missed another item in there, I don't know. There was a few back here, but I couldn't be bothered getting them, so I just went out here so that I could reset the save point.
That one extra missile.
Well, you never know. I didn't know how many times I was gonna, this boss was gonna freeze on me. So, I didn't want to have to collect the missile every single time. So here
Or
we go.
just how many missiles you might need for it.
Yeah, that too. So now here's our descent into complete insanity.
I think
Fittingly,
it gets worse.
yes,
This is Smiley on crack.
very fittingly, you go downwards. I think that was meant to be symbolism. Okay, so here it is. Remember our animal friend from the start?
Box.
That
It's-
is us,
it's,
apparently.
Quite the thing. I wasn't. Yeah,
It turns
this
into
boss is
Sonic
very,
sometimes.
it's very easy to kind of just do this. I'm not sure if that was intended, but you can just sit there and screw attack and not get hit, and then
If you don't get screw attack, this becomes a much different.
nah, because you just pseudo screw attack.
Well, okay, you can do that. You can cheat like that, I guess.
So here's me just cheating, essentially. Anyway, we are basically at the end of the hack now. There's one more thing about it that will surprise anyone who has played Smiley's hacks.
There is. It was almost disappointing.
I saw the thing and I was like, oh, he's just done the same thing. But no. I think my complaint about this boss, apart from the crashing, is it's a very tedious fight. Like, it takes a lot of hits to kill.
You're fighting it tediously.
Is there a less tedious way to fight it? I don't know.
You shoot it faster.
Easier said than
Yeah,
done.
you're like doing the safest thing I've ever seen.
Well, I don't know. Fuck off.
I'll go play it tedious, and I'll go complain about how tedious it is.
It is tedious, though. It takes a lot of hits to kill.
It does take a lot. I will agree with that.
I think
He
once
put
I
a lot of
stopped-
effort into this boss. He doesn't want you to kill it that quickly.
Exactly. Like, it is a very cool boss.
Smiley likes foxes.
He likes them a lot.
Yes.
I'm
He
still
likes
not
them
sure.
in special ways.
I still think I prefer the bosses from what was the other one that he did with the shop? SM
Ah.
Conflict?
Yes, conflict.
conflict. Yeah, the bosses in that I think were cooler, but also less custom.
Yes,
Here we go.
more or less
Yeah, that's
custom.
true.
I kind of skipped
Let's
that
say?
because it
I
said,
have
is
no
it
idea
all
what
in
it
your,
says.
Is it
All
all
in
in
your
your
mind
head
something.
or is it all in mine?
Oh. So yeah,
And here we go. Mind blown. But wait, everything is okay. The world hasn't exploded yet.
Fox disappeared from there.
The fox is dead. We really have no idea what's happened. The animals are gone. Samus has completed her mission. I was seeing if there was anything around here at all. Evidently not. And so, off we
Time
go.
to go home.
That's it. Mission complete. Job well done. Nice work, Samus. I'm very
So that
proud
was
of you.
the whole hack.
But,
So it was basically one big acid trip.
hang on. What's this? Ha! You thought she was gonna get away without blowing up a planet? You're right.
Yeah, not possible.
It's physically impossible.
Foxes are awesome.
Wow.
And what's this? It didn't explode! So the mission was a success.
And in a rare smiley twist, the planet didn't blow up for no reason.
Okay. So, that's that out of the way. What did you guys think?
Was it an explosion of Fox awesomeness?
Yes,
It was.
essentially.
That was an explosion of him waking up and realizing what he's done with his life.
Samus's mind could not contain the awesomeness that is Fox. She had a minor nervous breakdown.
Anyway, so on the topic, what did you guys, since you were meant to be judges, what did you think of the contest? Or of Smiley's contest entry?
Okay, I'm gonna talk about the entry first because I have things to say about the contest. The entry is amazing. It would have been very hard for anyone to beat this just because I enjoy ridiculous stuff.
It was definitely
But-
ridiculous.
But at the same time, it wasn't very alien-y either. It was
No.
different, but it wasn't like weird.
That's my main complaint, is that it was cool and it was weird, but it didn't really fit the Alien Vista theme so much. Still a cool hack, but
Yeah.
I mean, it had flashy, glowy things. It had a bog, which looked normal.
yeah,
I mean, it had transparencies, but it's still pretty normal-looking stuff. So, could have done much better on the alien-looking stuff, I guess.
Like- the alien tile set itself, that weird bubbly thing, it was alien-y, but it wasn't Vista. If that makes any sense. Like, it didn't, to me, fit the theme of a Vista. It was kind
I
of
would have
just
liked
a weird
to
cave.
see. I would have liked to see transparency used in that area.
That would have been interesting. I think the
I
problem
like
is,
the tile set. I think it fits. I think it fit well enough with the theme, but I think he could have done more with it.
that's
And instead of it just having a couple of rooms of that tile set and then the rest other zany things.
Yeah.
You know,
the hack itself. I think it was fun. It was about as long as it needed to be. Like, I think it could have gotten a bit boring and just annoying if it had been any bigger, like that stupid area at the end with its ridiculous colors. If that had been any larger, it would have just been a bit of a clusterfuck. So,
yeah, I think there was the right
Probably-
amount of zany polka flashy lights area.
yeah. That's,
Yeah,
I
it'd probably
approve of that
migraine
being in there, by the way.
If you stayed in it too much longer.
and
Like a certain other couple hacks that we all know of.
I don't know what you're talking about.
so yeah, 88.1%. Not a terrible effort, I don't think.
Excuse me.
So yeah. Crash,
I
you
don't
didn't
know.
play the hack. What did you think of it just looking at it like that?
Wow.
That's a word for it.
Yeah.
If you were to,
It's definitely very smiley.
it's a good summary for the hack.
Yeah.
It's basically exactly what you'd expect from Smiley, without it being anything that you would expect. Like, you look at it, and it's just
Actually,
like,
that works really well.
Yeah, that's a good description.
It does.
you look at it, and it's like, of course Smiley made this, because no other person on the planet could possibly
Would do something.
have. Like, it was interesting and it was wacky. It was a really cool hack. It just didn't quite fit the theme to me. Not that it matters, because only entrant, only winner.
Yeah.
So, and that's the thing in itself. Actually getting it done within the time frame, unlike some people.
Vismund.
Sorry.
Even DSO was going to get something together, and he didn't.
He didn't. I believe
Tisk, bro.
Jiffy was working on something, and then he didn't.
Real Red apparently was working on something, and that didn't. Jordan might have been working on something. I think I remember him saying something, and didn't.
I think a lot of people saw the theme and said, "Oh, that sounds neat. I'll work on a hack for that." And then they got like 2 rooms in and then gave up.
I think
Something like that.
another problem.
Sounds about right. Yeah.
Another problem was almost the lack of rules. I know that was a problem for me. I'm not trying to defend myself. I should have planned more reasonably for the time frame, but seeing that there was no limitations on the size of the hack, no limitations on tile sets you could use aside from that it had to fit the theme well, it kind of just, I went overboard, and I think that might have been a lot of people's problems, is that they went overboard and it got to that point where, oh shit, the submissions are closing in a week and I'm only half finished.
Well,
Because
the contest did run from May 15th through August 31st. This is the longest
Yes.
contest we've had. People were aware of the time frame, so... And I am personally against having a lot of rules. I prefer letting people just do whatever, because like to believe people are self-disciplined enough to finish something that
yeah,
they
the
start
problem
with
is
in
that
3.5
you're just
months.
wrong there. People are
That's
self-disciplined.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
The problem, I think, actually, because obviously the lack of rules was to encourage creativity. The problem is that when you're allowing that much creativity, it's sort of... You're essentially, like, getting rid of constraints on people. So they're gonna go overboard, like I did. Oops.
Well, I was hoping for Overboard. I was just hoping it would be finished.
Yeah. For
I mean,
reference,
Smiley sort of went overboard. It worked.
for reference,
At least finished.
I finished over 500 screens. I'm not sure how many are there in Super Metroid.
1,264, I believe.
Yes, and I'm only about half done with my hack. I am still working on it because I like the idea that I had, and it's a fun idea, so I'm rolling with it. I just planned too much for the time frame. Because the other thing was, I looked at the time frame, and it's like, oh, 3 months, that's ages. I can go crazy. I can make so much in 3 months. And
Oh, nope.
3
Yeah.
months is not as long as it sounds.
It
Especially
is, though.
when you're talking about hacking and putting together a game, essentially. 3 months is not a long time. I think even if I had worked on it every single day for as long as I possibly could, I wouldn't have finished.
That's not the time frame's fault, then.
No, that's not the time frame's fault. That's just me saying why I think the contest was unsuccessful. I say unsuccessful. Smiley's hack was cool, and I think if we get one cool hack out of a contest, it can almost be classified as a success.
Anytime we get a Smiley hack, it's a success.
Yeah, what Vismund is saying is that he is a walking example of Parkinson's law.
Yeah, essentially. That's
Parkinson's law?
The work expands to fill the time allotted.
Ah, I gotcha.
Yeah. So, as opposed to doing what would have been reasonable for a contest, I thought, 3 months, I can do this much in 3 months. Okay. When that's never how it works. And I should have looked at my other contest entries as an example. Because
But see, now you have further proof of what you can accomplish within the time frame.
Yes.
So for the next contest,
So for the next 3 month long contest, I know to only plan 500 screens and release it with no testing, as opposed to. I'm not sure if I think Smiley had testers for that.
yes, Mon was a tester. I'm
Mon
aware.
was a tester. Mon's always a tester.
He is.
What a nice guy.
He seems to do that a lot. Yes.
I think he enjoys punishment.
I would say so. But so yeah, having testers is important. Obviously, the boss crashing at the end was
Unfortunate.
which
Yeah,
did we
and
mention
he's-
already? I'm not sure if we mentioned it already. Smiley has sort of a fix for it. He has worked out what's making the boss crash, I guess. And he has a version that doesn't crash. The problem is that the boss doesn't drop any items, which would make it impossible. It would make the hack completely, I think, unbeatable. Maybe not unbeatable, just more tedious at the end. Because you can kill it with
Yeah.
dodge shots. It'd just be a nightmare.
The heck is a nightmare. Did you read the
Yeah,
story?
literally.
I mean, if you want to be technical, yes.
Okay, no. But I mean, as far as like the contest goes, I mean, there was a lot of interest in it. There obviously was not a lot of entrance for whatever reasons. And have been talking with James about some things with contests. There are going to be basically 2 contests a year. I guess this is sort of a PSA. There's going to be one in the summer, which will be the longer period. And then every other year, it'll rotate between a fall contest and a winter contest. And because
Okay.
both James and I really like those seasons, so it's like, oh, hey, we'll sort of do themes around that.
That's cool.
The summer contests will end up being more like user-driven in terms of what they are. So users submit ideas for like what the next summer's
Theme.
contest theme will be. I sort of came up with the Alien Vista contest, and when the next summer one rolls around, we'll probably be having some submissions for just the general theme.
Okay.
Something else that did happen with this contest, I kind of had an idea where I'd be like, oh, hey, it'd be really cool if people actually won something for winning. Smiley defaulted into this, but he did win a thingy, so...
He won. Getting something finished is an accomplishment in and of itself, evidently. So
and it's actually it
Don't-
feels like a complete product too.
Yes.
I mean,
It
minus
does.
the crashing
don't
bug.
discredit Smiley for what he did. Like saying that he defaulted into it is a bit unfair because he did produce something very
he
good.
did do
and
very good, yes.
I
It
think
would
Yeah.
have been hard to beat this hack.
yes, it would have
He
been.
submitted a very respectable entry that feels like a complete contest hack and has a lot of neat things to it. So it was a deserved win, even though he obviously didn't have any competition.
In my opinion, the only thing that really could have beaten Smiley's hack would have been a very well polished.
So little hack.
No, not
No.
a so little hack. a well
Oh
polished.
god, no.
A well-polished hack that fit the theme better and felt complete. That was the only real problem with Smiley's, in my opinion. I don't know. I wasn't judging, so it wouldn't have come down to me. But I think the only way it could have been beaten out is by something that fit the theme better. And even then, it would have had to have been
It would have
extremely
still
well
been hard.
polished. Because aside from the boss crashing at the end, there is nothing wrong with Smiley's. There's no permastocks. There's At least not from my age.
I don't believe there are.
I don't think I saw one person complaining about getting stuck anywhere.
There's also a really rad story with it.
There's a cool story. There's a good number of items for the size of the hack. It doesn't feel like you're getting... It's a lot of smaller hacks. They feel very either they're scarce or you just get completely bombarded with items. And it felt balanced. Like,
Yeah.
you were never running ridiculously low on missiles or energy. Like, you didn't really feel like you had to conserve them, but at the same time you were careful, I guess. Which is...
Had to maintain the sanity.
Yeah, that's it. It's a thing that a lot of hacks don't balance well, especially contest hacks. Because
Yeah.
whether it's lack of testing or lack of testing or lack of testing, what I'm trying to say
Or
is
I made it.
having a tester is very good because, you know,
You don't want to end up with Z Factor 1.0.
essentially.
Yes, you do.
Or do you?
Well, I guess some.
Because you don't want to end up with a hack that you can't beat because there is a shy guy in a wall that crashes the hack when you try to walk through a door.
Not my fault, by the way.
Entirely
code
your fault,
broke.
by the way.
Quotes code broke.
But the other permastucks were your fault.
Yes, they were.
Anyway, off the topic of that contest. Actually, you know what? Let's go on the topic of that contest because it produced a lot of cool ideas for hacks, and it's whether the constraints for that contest made it, although there weren't really constraints on that contest.
There weren't really, no. It was make a summer theme. It's basically
But even-
like Alien Vista, except around
But
summer.
even then, it was a more solid theme for a...
I think it was easier for people to imagine how to do a summer
a summer
hot
theme hack as
rather
opposed
than
to...
do something that just looks weird.
And
I don't know, maybe the flex glow thing, or just a custom animation or whatever for an asteroid, since those were being accepted, there just weren't any entries.
yes.
And maybe that scared some people off because, you know, you have to use an assembler for the flex glow. I made a tutorial video, hopefully that to help people figure out, oh, hey, it really isn't that difficult. Even MST can do it. But I don't know, that stuff like that may have scared some people off too.
It could be a little intimidating if you've never touched that stuff before. Suddenly
Yeah,
you realize that you
I mean,
need to learn that to even submit an
The
entry.
FlexGo ASM is a massive file,
It is. It's...
and it looks very intimidating.
And yeah, you look at it and it's very daunting, although it's explained very well if you just read through it, which evidently might be a bit much for some people, reading and whatnot.
Reading is difficult on the internet.
Yes. Aside from that, what other contests have we had? Recently, the Winter Solstice one only produced... Were there... How many entries were there in that?
There was a smiley hack in that.
There was a smiley hack.
There was
There's a
SLI.
Luna hack.
There was...
Did Lunary? Oh yeah, Lunary did one. There was four. There's
There
one
was-
more.
mining
Oh,
quotes.
yeah. That
Which
one
one?
wasn't even a winner.
No.
I'd like to point that out. You had the only snow area, and it was the least winnery hack.
Yeah.
Well, you know whose fault that was.
Yes, you do.
The answer is
And we
quotes.
also know why that hack suffered so badly.
But
David-
we're not going to go into that because we went into that on the podcast for that contest.
Yes,
Oh.
yes, we did.
Person saying Palmy's hack? Did Palmy do a winner hack person?
No, he did the contest hack.
Yeah, he did the contest. I didn't think he did a winner one.
Yeah,
But-
that, I think, was by far the most successful contest.
I think the reasoning for that being so successful was the limitation on rooms, to be honest. I know
The contest.
Yeah. I know
Okay.
that the point of having no limit on rooms was to encourage creativity, but having the 20 room limit meant that it had to fit within the constraints. People couldn't really go overboard. Like myself and Full of Fail, we had very large hacks for the.
Mhm.
Let's not go into mine. Full of Fail made a very big hack for it that, you know,
It was impressive for 20 rooms.
yeah, exactly.
It definitely didn't feel like 20.
I mean,
felt
some
like
rooms
way
didn't
more.
count toward the total, but
Oh, I know.
still.
'Cause you
So-
can
it felt,
combine
it felt
multiple
bigger.
rooms into one.
Yes, but I do think that the 20 room limit meant that people couldn't go overboard so much on what they were doing.
I would also like to point out that the 20 room limit brought about SLR.
It did.
So
indeed bring
it's not
about
all
SLR.
positive.
That's true.
Well, I was going to bring up that room limits or things of that nature aren't necessarily the best way to keep things concise and constrained, if because that's what Vismund keeps bringing up. Because if you tell someone an arbitrary limit like 20 rooms, some people are going to think, okay, how can I abuse this?
Oh, yeah.
And
Absolutely.
and then then it becomes not so much about that you're not even thinking about creating the hack as much as you're thinking about weird loopholes in the rules, and so that you can still go overboard in that way. So I think which sometimes works out well and sometimes it doesn't. I'm not saying that's necessarily a bad thing, but I think if the goal is to give people clear constraints to try and limit people overreaching, and I think you just need to pick a narrow theme of some kind and hope that people stick to it.
Yeah. That might have been the other problem with this contest, the Alien Vista one, is that the theme was very, very open to interpretation,
Yes.
as we
it was
saw.
pretty vague.
Maybe if the theme was less vague, there would have been more entries because people would have had a more solid idea of, okay, it's, I don't know, we'll go with the summer contest. It's a summer theme. We want it to be warm, bright, angry sun.
Yeah, people really
Preferably
wanted
not.
that.
If you do have an
Basically-
angry son, don't make it grappleable.
That was a feature.
Wasn't
is
until
not
Crash
feature.
broke it.
So yeah, I think that just having such a vague theme with no real limitations on what you were going to do meant a lot of people, myself included, again, I'm not really trying to blame the theme itself for it, but it was just I don't even know, because no one else has said anything about what they were doing. I think
I'm not sure anyone else really had a solid idea.
Yeah, I think that's probably the case.
yeah, I would say
Like
so.
Smiley's sort of out there anyway, so he's like, "Oh, this is great." Vismund, you're a little bit out there, so I mean, you come up with something strange. You put a coral reef in a winter contest.
Australian winter. That was actually, I don't know how many people I ever mentioned this to. My original idea for that contest was to have an Australian winter themed hack where everything was on fire and it killed you. But
That works very well for Australia. Because everything's trying to kill you anyways.
I thought that
Super
might have been
asteroid.
a bit too stupid for. Again, maybe not. That's on the shelf. I still have a beta version of that lying around. just waiting for the right moment
For the
to
right time.
throw that at people.
I don't know. I still think the contests are good and sort of a fun idea. I think they can, I guess, depending on maybe themes, some people are more motivated on or have more ideas on. And depending on that, obviously we'd see more hacks. But I think even with one hack, this still generated a lot of interest. There was
It did.
obviously
There was a lot
some
of
talk about it.
people talking about it and talking about how they were going to make entries. And I think that makes it successful in its own right. Because
it gets people thinking, and if they come
Yeah.
up with ideas during this, we may not see it in a hack. We may not see a hack, but some of those ideas, which hopefully are all good, might show up in like the bigger hacks that are taking 5 years to make. So
yeah,
Indeed.
that's the other thing. Like, if it got people hacking, it's a successful contest, I think. I don't know
That's
whether
true.
you guys share that opinion.
and it's like a very long haul vision of it, but I do agree with that. You know, it's
Like-
you're not going to have super successful contests all the time, especially with a community as small as this and with how difficult Super Metroid is to hack right now. I mean, obviously there's some things that are a lot easier now, but it's still not
Yes.
exactly
And
easy.
it's slowly getting easier, but at the moment, it's still like there aren't many tools to work with. Rules? What? There aren't too many tools to work with. It's a lot of
A steep learning curve to get into it.
Yeah, there's a very steep learning curve. Like, you can do basic things very easily, but if you want to produce anything that's more than mediocre, there's a very steep learning curve very quickly.
And
It's
a
not
lot
like
of time
hacking
commitment.
Mario.
Yes.
It's not like hacking Mario.
The other difference between hacking Metroid and Mario is that you have to have a consistent idea that flows through
Yes.
not one level,
Mhm.
but it has to flow through thousands, essentially, of levels. Because
Yeah.
if you think of each room as an individual level, then how many are there in Super Metroid? More than 200.
Rooms? Yeah.
Yeah, rooms. I can't remember it off the top of my head.
It's 200 something.
So yeah, that's essentially 200 levels.
263.
Thank you,
Thank
person and Dopey.
So 263 levels, essentially, but there has to be a consistent theme, like, flowing throughout the entire.
At least the sub maps.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
And hopefully
It's like-
transitioning well
Yeah,
between
exactly. Which is a problem with some of the borderline good hacks. Like, there's ones that you wouldn't call quite noob level terrible, but also you wouldn't rank them highly. That there's a consistent theme throughout the areas, but suddenly you'll go from like Green Burn Star to Lower Norfair, and it's just like, how did this happen?
Sudden transition.
Whereas with we'll go with the original game. It goes from the green to the red Burn Star, which is admittedly a fairly sort of big jump, but it feels like it naturally flows through from that to Norfair, which is a problem that some hacks have, I guess. It just doesn't flow right.
Yeah.
And it's really noticeable.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I mean, and it's not like the difficulty of hacking the game is, part of it. But it's also a very small community. Obviously, like Super Mario World has a much larger community around it.
Yes.
It's also a lot easier to do,
It's a lot easier and it's a lot more user friendly.
and there's like a lot more tools for that too.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
like with Smiley, one of the reasons I do like his hacks a lot is because he also knows how to do ASM, so he can do custom things. And I don't know how to do those things.
Yeah,
I
that's
want
it.
to learn, but it takes time, and I just haven't gone and done that. So, I mean, things like that, I guess, that might get some people kind of worried about their hacks because, like, I can't do what someone else is doing.
Yeah, that's it.
And that might be a downer for some people. It might be kind of a negative thing about it.
Alternatively, you just make friends with people like Quote and tell them to do it for you.
Make sure you have
By now
plenty
you
of
should
time to
have
test
noticed
afterward.
That's a consistent theme in everything that I do, is I can't do it, Quote. perhaps
Yeah.
not the best idea.
Well, on a more serious note, one good thing about the community is that there are lots of people that know some of these more esoteric things that are happy to help share their experience. Teach people, do add custom music or bosses or things for you and that kind of thing.
You just have, like, if you're willing to learn and you're not going to get angry about it.
Right. Yeah. If you put in the effort to demonstrate that you're not going to give up on this, 2 weeks in, then I think it's easy to get help from other people for the
Yes.
things that you don't know.
And that's an important point Dopey just said. You're willing to put the effort in. Because I will tell you right now, if you are not, nobody's going to help you.
Yes.
And that's another thing we should talk about, sort of on the subject of contests and new people, is that these contests are a really good way for you to sort of not just show off what you've learned, but improve your skills, and as I think MST was about to say, enter into like the hacking scene and like it's a good way to get feedback on what you're doing, like things that you might be doing right, things that you're doing wrong, and you can really just learn from that. Like, let's go back to the very first contest that I ever entered. And we'll look at a wonderful little hack called Vismund's Side Hopper Special. That was terrible. It was fucking awful. I'd been hacking for 3 months at the time. I didn't know how to do doors until I actually started making the hack. That was something that I picked up along the way, which is kind of cool. And I was only basically learning how to use some of the tile sets and how to make palettes good. But I think that despite the fact that what I made was terrible, and I can wholeheartedly agree that it was terrible, it was a good way for me to learn like what I was doing well, what I wasn't doing so well, and I picked up a lot from it. And I think if I hadn't made that, as much as I might say that I regret making it now, I wouldn't be half as good as I am now. If I was even still hacking, I might have just ended up quitting halfway through. But the good thing about making a contest hack is that it shows you that it can be really fun to make a hack with, like, it doesn't have to be big. It can just be small, centered around some sort of wacky idea. And yeah, I think that making that really helped me decide that I did enjoy doing it and I wanted to stick with it. And even if sometimes what you make is completely shit and no one likes it, it's still a good way to learn. And so yeah,
that's a great point.
Newbies enter contests, and that way we can tell you how bad you are.
Yes. That way we can feel better about our own.
If that's the point you took away from everything that I just said, then hacking is probably not for you. I'm going to say that now. If you get negative feedback and rage quit, don't hack. There's no point. You're going to get negative feedback because you're not going to be good to start with. You need to accept that when you start making hacks, generally what you're going to be doing is shit.
In any creative endeavor, the first thing you create is inevitably not going to be very good. You just have to accept that and, figure out what you did well and what you didn't, and, improve from there.
Yeah,
that's true of making a hack, and it's true of writing, it's true of art, And it's an iterative process.
And it will make your life much better if after making this piece of garbage, you're able to sit back and enjoy watching people suffer while playing it.
Yeah,
just like to point that out.
My favorite thing that I ever did was I sat there and I watched MST as he tried to get through side hoppers, and he got mad and he got annoyed, and it was fantastic.
You will not believe how, Vismund Side Hopper Special is definitely not that good of a hack, but it was playable. It wasn't like stupid spikes everywhere, stupid task tricks. It was playable. So, there's no reason for me not to keep playing it because it's still playable. And You might be surprised at how fun it is to watch people play your hack, even if they aren't enjoying it and it is garbage.
And
have...
again, you can take away their feedback on what's good, and that's why a contest is a good thing to do it, because obviously, like, let's just go, because MST, you obviously have the most popular channel when it comes to playing through Super Metroid hacks. There's a lot of them that you wouldn't play through normally when they were released. Just because
you don't play through them because they're good.
You'd have a look at them and you'll be like, oh, okay, I might get to that later, and then inevitably it gets buried under better stuff. But if you're releasing it for a contest, MST is going to play it.
That is true.
It's inevitable that he will play it because he's going to play through every single contest hack.
I don't like that you're encouraging people to make bad things, so I put it.
I'm not encouraging people to make bad things.
It sounds like you.
I'm telling people that instead of making a topic saying, "Oh hey, I've edited 5 rooms in Super Metroid, come and play my hack," instead you should do something small for a contest, even if it's the first thing that you've done and it's not good. You're going to get more feedback on it than if you just dump it in the completed stuff section of the site and say, okay, I've done this thing.
And there is...
And look, it's another YPR.
It's another Super Metroid Impossible.
There is some truth to that. Obviously, the contest hacks are smaller, so they're easier to play, record, edit, all that fun stuff, which is important to this. But with that, because those do go up on my channel, and they're easier to put together and faster to put together. Even if you're just getting feedback from me playing it on there or whatever, even in the comments, not always, but hopefully, there's a few good commenters on my channel who actually mention some things about the hack. So you can peruse through those, and that's a big word for me, by the way.
There's going to be, because your entry is being judged, there's going to be users on the forum who are actively giving you useful feedback, if nothing else. Like, even if they didn't like it, you're going to find out what they didn't like, why they didn't like it. Generally, people are going to bring up something that they did like, and they'll talk about why they liked that, what was good about it, why your tiling sucked. You shouldn't put side hoppers off screen.
Or if you have more in-depth edits, just look at the redesign axial thread.
Yeah, exactly.
Because holy crap, there's a lot of stuff Drew did right, and there's a lot of stuff that he did wrong.
But the point is that, on the subject of Axial, he is remedying the stuff that he did wrong, which is what doing these contests should be about for people, is finding out what you did right, what you did wrong, the things that you did wrong, work on them. Show stuff off in Room of the Week, put it in the general projects thread.
Room of the Bye Week, by the way.
Oh yeah, I know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, don't you run that thread?
Yeah, it's not like you're in charge of that or anything.
Well, yeah.
On that note, end podcast.
And on that note, it's time to say no, not yet. We still have things to talk about.
No, I mean, I agree. I mean, the contest, I mean, as someone who plays all the hacks anyway, I want to play stuff that's fun. But, you know, it's still an excellent place to try different things.
Yeah, that's the other thing.
Don't worry about, you know, somebody being absolutely hating an idea just because it's different. I think it's the best format to do a new thing in. Just
what
to see.
You need to know
definitely
is there's always going to be that one person who, whether they're just having a shitty day or whether they're just an asshole, they're going to get every single negative thing and they're going to throw it at your face. And you just need to deal with that person because people like that exist. We call them assholes.
And maybe they might have some valid points.
Yeah, somewhere hidden in their swear word ridden comments there actually might be some genuinely useful feedback. And as much as you might hate to read through that person's comments and be like, oh, they're just an asshole, I'm just going to ignore them, you can still take away, like, okay, what exactly has made them this angry that they're threatening to kill my cat? And you can see that, and you can go back and play through it and be like, oh, hey, this actually is shit. And that's another thing. Make sure you have testers, because just because something is easy for you, it doesn't mean it's easy.
Yes.
In fact, it usually means that it's not easy.
I think that could be a whole separate podcast topic, honestly.
If
It
your
should
hack
be.
is difficult for yourself, then it's going to be very frustrating for everybody else.
It's going to be impossible, and no one's going to play it. That's
Pretty
Not
sure
even
we've
me.
actually touched on this in like multiple podcasts by now.
It has been touched on,
But
but
yes,
I think it warrants its own thing.
yeah,
I think it
Intent.
does, yeah.
it is a
Intent.
very in-depth subject.
But one more thing to mention about contest hacks in general is, besides the feedback and the learning aspect, it can be, you can get a good feeling of satisfaction for actually having completed something.
Yeah, that's the other.
That can help motivate you to keep working at it, sort of increase your aspirations as you go on, saying, I've completed this contest hack, or maybe a couple of different ones, and I feel good about what I worked on, what I've been learning, etc. And it, a lot of times hacking on a large scale is about motivation. We're talking about things that
Yes.
take months or years of time. You need to have those feelings that what you're working on is
Like,
worth the effort. And
You're
so-
getting something out of it. Like, how long
Yeah.
has Fear been in development for?
Since 1972.
Exactly.
Not quite sure about that date, but yeah.
Well,
Being able to point to something and say, I made this and it's a completed thing is, I
Yes.
imagine, a neat feeling, since I can't actually claim that myself.
Well, once you get a music editor finished.
Yeah.
Hint, hint.
I'm just going to buy a ring for every hack I complete.
Well, if we're
Onion
going to be
ring?
actually serious about things, I'll go with my example. I've been working on Sunshine in its current state for almost 2 years now, I would say. And it's still a long way from done. But it's nice to know that I've got these contest hacks that I've made, and yeah, they're not the best things, but it still feels nice that, I've completed something and I've released it and people have enjoyed it. I've gotten feedback on what I'm doing wrong, and it's helped me make what I hope to be my final finished product for Sunshine better than anything it could have been if I'd, just released it.
Hadn't
6
had any
months ago
feedback from
when it was done.
previous.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that the contests are some of the more fun times around the community. I mean, obviously there's a lot of talk around them. But I mean, in general, the contests I personally feel are a lot more enjoyable. It's cool when, I don't know, where Z Factor drops or whatever.
Yeah,
but that's not so much like the community working together, whatever. I mean, in some cases, with a hack, it's like, oh, hey, where do I go? And people help each other out with whatever. But when there's like a bunch of people working on hacks for one particular thing, I think that's really fun to be around then. As in IRC, instead of us randomly racing things, we end up talking a lot more about hacks. You might see some images dropped.
Yeah.
Which might have foxes and make you wonder what in the world he's doing. But
it inevitably leads to more people talking about hacking, more interest.
It builds excitement.
Yeah, exactly. So,
I think it's funner to be hacking around that. I mean, I like working on Fear, but that's like a 40-year job.
Yeah, exactly.
The four contest hacks I made, those completely different than Fear. Very different.
I don't believe you.
And Fear's more like a job. The contest hacks were more fun, I would say.
Especially
That's
since you
another
made
thing.
the one in what, a week?
Yes.
That's another thing. Sometimes hacking is going to feel like a chore. Like, you're not getting anywhere, you're doing all of this really tedious shit, and the contests are a nice distraction from that, where you can just sort of let other ideas come out and, again, get feedback on them as to whether they're actually a good idea or whether you're just insane. Sometimes you can be insane, and also it's a good idea. Anyway.
I think Smiley's had a few of those.
Yeah.
More than a couple.
Leaning
Too many.
heavily toward the insane part.
But that's off topic, and I think we're basically covered everything that needed covering.
I mean, about this contest, pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
I believe
So-
yeah.
I mean, if anybody had any closing comments about it before you close out Vismund?
Well, I still think that the contest was, even though it might not have looked like it with only Smiley's entry, I still think it was a success because it got people talking. It did produce one very interesting hack with some kind of cool ideas, things that you wouldn't expect from your average Super Metroid hack. It was cool to see. Even though I was a bit disappointed that it was the only one, I was still, I guess, pleased to see that there was something that came out of it. And it was not just something, it was something very special.
Well, that it was.
Alright. So yeah. I'm happy with this contest, even though it might not have looked like the best thing in the whole world.
Yeah. Yeah, and I enjoyed that the community sort of gets together a little bit, built some excitement, because I kind of want to see community grow and whatever, and when people are excited about their projects or whatever is going on, that helps. That kind of bubbles over. So new people who show up see that they're probably a little bit more interested in that rather than all the dull, dry technical stuff. Unless you're weird like DSO and enjoy that kind of stuff. But I think stuff like that is good for the community in general with the contest because it's a little more exciting. Probably helps out a little bit.
Yeah, that's a pretty good point, I think. I mean, we already sort of went over it, but, it's just nice to see people talking about hacking and getting interest into it, because a lot of the time MetCons gets a bit like, there's a lot of dry spells between major hacks being released. So it's just kind of cool to see fun little things coming out. But yeah, Dopey, anything to say?
Make more hacks.
Good point. Crashed?
Make more hacks.
Yep. Okay.
Wow.
So I think we're all decided. Next contest, everyone make more hacks. So congrats to Smiley for being the only person who has a good enough work ethic to actually do something cohesive. Yeah.
And for making it good.
Also that. Let's not forget. Congrats to Smiley for making a hack that probably would have won even if there'd been 10 entries. And on that note, bye.